Hello and welcome to VoiceOver Amy. Today's video is going to be a beginner tutorial on Procreate. So this is the app right here and I'm going to open up for you guys. These are all of my previous projects, by the way, just to show you. We could do many different sizes, which I'll show you right here. So this top right corner over here, if you click the select button, you can either duplicate a project, you can share a project, but we're not doing that today. The second one is import. So this is for if you wanted to import a font, which I did do a tutorial on this, on how to download fonts and import them into Procreate on your iPad. So I will link that card right here if you want to check that out. And then for photo, this is also really helpful too, especially if you're doing digital illustrations. If you want me to do a video on that, please let me know in the comments because that can be a whole separate video. The plus sign is the button that we're going to use. So as you can see, there are some selected canvases that I have saved. So if you want to create a default one or a preset one, you could click that folder right there with the plus button, and here you could adjust the size. On the left hand side, all of these other options I don't really touch. It's a little too advanced in my opinion, and this is a beginner tutorial, so you'll want to select the first tab, and you can also change the measurements from inches, centimeters, millimeters, etc., but we use px, pixels. I'm going to open one right here, and as you can see, it comes with a blank screen. So I'm going to go over these top right icons for you. The first paintbrush one is a brush. As you can see, I always work with the studio pen and inking, and if you click on the actual brush, you can adjust the settings of that particular brush. So here you can adjust the spacing, which I don't even touch, the streamline, which I put all the way up to 100. So as you can see, it's very wiggly if you move that option to the lower side, but if you move it to all the way to the right, it'll make that streamline much sharper and better in my opinion, because I have a kind of shaky hand. So if you have a steady hand, don't need to put it up all the way, but I like to keep it up to 100%. And then the jitter is just the size of the brush, obviously, and the fall off is the fall off, of course. And then again, on the left hand side, this is very advanced in my opinion. This is just changing the brush and like really detailed settings about it. Again, I don't touch this at all. If you want me to do a video on that, please let me know. But Studio Pen is definitely the one that I use primarily. And here on the left hand side are all the different kind of brushes. So if you like to do calligraphy and lettering, this is a great subcategory for all of the calligraphy brushes. Again, there's so many in here that you can play around with. So then on the right hand side, the little circle button is the colors. I'm gonna go over that briefly in a second. And on the left hand side right here is the brush size. So the higher you go, the thicker the brush, and then obviously the lower, the thinner. And to redo and undo, you'll use 2 fingers to undo and 3 fingers to redo. So 2, just tap, undo, and then redo. You could also change those settings if you want. That's automatically what it comes with though with Procreate. It's the 2 tap and the 3 tap. So here I'm just writing my name out just to show you some examples. And then on this left hand side on the bottom, that's the opacity of the brush. So depending on how thick or thin you want it. And again, if you don't want to double tap or triple tap, you can just use the undo arrow buttons on the bottom below. And then if you want to erase anything, you'll select that eraser tool at the top and you can adjust the brush on this, or I like to just adjust it all the way to the top so it's a thicker brush and it's so much quicker to erase something. Now, the main icon that you will be using are these 2 squares right here, which are your layers. As you can see, we have only 2 technically layers right now. We have a background color, which you could change the color to. I'm going to change it to this taupe color. And then we have our layer if we want to start writing anything. I suggest by making multiple layers for different items because and I'll show you why in a bit. So you'll just click that plus sign to add some layers. Again, I want to make sure I'm in the right brush. So I'm going to write my name right here. And then I'm going to click the second layer and I'm just going to draw like a flower or something. It's really not good, so don't mind the bad drawing. So as you can see, so say, oh my gosh, I messed up and the flower was like right on top. I can easily erase the text, but then it won't erase the flower. So if you keep those on the 2 layers, sometimes if you have things overlapping, it helps so much better just to separate the 2 in my opinion. And especially again, I'm going to mention with digital illustrations, I'll pop like a picture right here. It is so much easier. Now to move around layers, but then if you move things to the top, that's gonna overlap it to the top. So again, this is kind of hard to explain when things aren't getting overlapped and whatnot, but here I'll show you really quick. So I drew a line in the color black and then another line in the color red, and then I'll just choose another random color for the other layer. And as you can see, the black is on the bottom, the red is in the middle, and that like lighter pink is on the top. So you just hold it down and move it. Now I like to undo the background color on when I make GIFs. Again, this can be also another video because it's gonna take way too long for me to explain it in just this video. Or if you wanna do any PNG items like an icon or whatnot, I always unclick the background color. And then here, if you want to adjust the opacity of something that you already wrote, drew, etc., you can just click that little N button and adjust that toolbar to the left. And I also use this mouse button on the top left corner to move it around, to move whatever you drew on that layer around and make it bigger, smaller, etc. Now there are a bunch of other options on the below part too that you can change, but I don't really touch those necessarily because I don't use Procreate too much. And now on the right hand side, I did explain these are my colors. Now people were saying this in one of my previous videos, how to make a color palette, which I'm going to show you right now. So what's fun about, I like this section of when I'm choosing colors, it shows you from your previous color versus the one that you're trying to choose now. So if you want to make a color like similar to it or around that color, you can compare the two, which is what I really like. And then here, of course, you could adjust the intensity of the color. This is the whole toolbar of the color. So if you want to choose a green, blue, just move it to wherever that color is. Now this is the color palettes, as I explained. I made it untitled, but it's really my brand colors kind of. So if you want to delete anything, you will just hold down on a certain color and then it'll pop up with these two options. Obviously we'll click delete. I'm just going to delete these few really quick here. And then I'm going to choose like a green palette, for example. So if you want to add that to your palette, all you do is hold down that little square and select object, or you can just tap it. So again, let me go back in here, just click on that box and you can select those colors right there. So they're all in that palette. Unfortunately, if you want to change the color, you'll have to choose your color, hold it down and select it that way. So you can see I'm just selecting the color, holding the Apple Pencil down and selecting it. So here's like my kind of green turquoise if I had some kind of turquoise theme going on, right? These options here are just different ways to select colors. So this one I also use a lot. This one I don't use too much. And then on the right hand side, this is where you find all of your palettes. So that top one we just have, that's my default. That's the one we were working on. So I'm gonna change this really quick because primarily all those colors in there are like my brand colors. So you just select that text and then type in whatever the name of that palette is for you. And here are some other ones. If you wanted to select a new one, you just select that plus button and say create new palette. What's also really cool is you can import a palette from a certain photo that you have, which again is really good for digital illustrations. So then on the left hand side we have here, I'm going to show you how to import anything. So if you wanted to insert a photo, insert some text, that is where you would do that. And then here, this third button is sharing. So I can share anything as a JPEG, a PNG file, all of these other files, sometimes use the animated GIF one as well. So if I wanted to just save this as a PNG or JPEG file, so let's select PNG and then automatically it exports it. And now here I can either airdrop it to whatever other Apple device I have, or I can save the image. And it says export successful, and when you go into your photos, that photo will be there. But here I'm just erasing everything, and yeah, that is the last tip that I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!